So, you just got back from school or work, it's been a long day, and as you sit on your couch, you start to wonder, you know what would really relax me right now? More chores. Well, do I have the game for you. After 5 years of development by Singularity 6, Palia has entered its open beta. This massively multiplayer community simulation game places you as a human, a race that has vanished for thousands of years, mysteriously awakening in a new, modern world filled with magic and mysteries. So join me as we delve into my time at Portia. My time at Palia. This is my time at Palia. If you've never played games like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, or Disney's Dreamlight Valley, or if you've never found value in those games, it might be challenging for you to even consider playing Palia. But if you have played those games before, you'll likely have an equal chance of both loving and disliking Palia. And here's why. Palia presents itself as a cozy, massively multiplayer simulation game with a lot to offer in its welcoming fantasy world. As a player, you establish a new home and contribute to developing the community while uncovering the world's mysteries. However, there's a recurring issue here. If you've played all the Sim games like this, Palia's systems will feel familiar, perhaps too familiar. So you're gonna continually compare your experience with those other games. And if Palia cannot fully captivate you during your interaction with these systems, you might not remain engaged for long. You might either return to those other games, or gradually drift away because these types of games are designed for long-term engagement, deliberately requiring substantial time investments. And if you constantly compare your time spent here with the time you could be spending elsewhere, this might hinder your experience even if you're just casually turning in and out of the game. So, we've played this game for over 50 hours since its open beta launch, so you don't have to, in order to decide if Palia is the game you should be playing with your friends right now. So let's cut to the point. What is this game all about? Well, sit tight because Palia has a lot of systems that even though are simple in their designs, they are a huge part of what you'll be doing every time you play the game. As a simulation game, Palia immerses you in a world that's always changing, allowing you to explore it at your own pace. This is an amazing thing about these types of games, because they allow you to approach them as you wish, essentially set your own objectives and goals. There's truly no correct way of playing the game. In Palia, you can collect various items such as vegetables, mushrooms, and lumber from felled trees. You can mine rocks and minerals, capture a variety of bugs found throughout the world, hunt animals for their meat, fur, and other materials. You can also prepare a wide range of delicious recipes, engage in relationships and ultimately romance, craft all sorts of furniture, and my personal favorite, fishing. Now, interacting with villagers constitutes a core activity in the game. Palia, akin to many other simulation games out there, has a relationship system. And to enhance your connections and unlock new content and rewards, you'll need to frequently talk with villagers and offer them gifts. The villagers themselves share intricate relationships, and many quests require talking with multiple individuals or establishing rapport with several villagers before progressing. Additionally, you can cultivate relationships to a level where romance will become possible. You'll have the opportunity to present the townsfolk with a range of items and engage in small talks with them every in-game day. It's also important to note that Palia has a day and night cycle that influences the entire village's activities. They leave their homes, they visit shops, spend time at the inn or library, and eventually return to their homes for rest. Each villager follows their distinct routine, influenced by their secret and hidden narratives. And unlike Disney's Dreamlight Valley and Animal Crossing, the day and night cycle is not synchronized with the real world. The entire day has a set duration, allowing you to experience multiple cycles in a single playthrough. This aspect is quite appealing to us in Palia. You're not confined by your real-life schedule, so if you work throughout most of the day and can only play the games during the evenings, you won't be limited to experience the same night sky repeatedly as in those other games. You'll also won't struggle to acquire items that are time-sensitive, such as fish that only emerge during the day or events that unfold in the afternoon. Upon entering this world, you meet up with the first two villagers, the curious Gina and her robot companion Hecla. And as you take your first steps into the village and start talking to the townsfolk, you eventually unlock your land plot where you'll be tasked to gather a few materials and build a tent. And this is pretty much where you have unlocked everything you need to start exploring the world and finding things to do on your own. Now, the early game is filled with things to do. You'll get some one-on-one quests that walks you through various common tasks. And due to the quick skill progression at the start, you'll get a lot of quests that help you improve your relationships and progress through the main storyline. In Palia, all of these skills are tied to a specific villager that sells things related to them. Granted, you have met the level requirements, and they also buy anything they would be interested in. Most players will spend the entire time either focusing on one of these skills at a time or leveling them up together while they're doing something else on the side. But because these skills are interconnected, you will eventually have to level one up in order to unlock new things to do with the other. So let's break down the skills a little bit more, starting with the simple ones, foraging and mining. Now, foraging and mining are pretty straightforward. You're walking around the world and you see some plants that can be pulled off the ground, some trees that can be chopped, and some stone nodes that can be mined. You get close to them, interact with them, and you collect some materials. That's pretty much it. But you will, sooner than later, find rocks that are too hard to mine and trees that can't be chopped quite yet. But as you level up those skills, you will eventually unlock new recipes to improve your tools and gain access to different types of resources. You also have hunting. For this one, you really just need a bow and arrows that can be either crafted or bought. Now, there isn't anything crazy about this one. You aim your bow, shoot the arrow, and even if you miss, you hit most things. And currently, you only have 2 types of animals that can be killed, each with a single normal variation that can endure more shots, and as you level up, you'll be able to craft stronger arrows and faster bows, which will help you deal with those creatures more easily. You can also do some bug catching. Honestly, there isn't much here either. It's just like hunting, you get these smoke bombs, aim at a bug, and keep throwing bombs at it until it's dazed and you can collect it. Some bugs are really tough and will put up a fight, but it's a fight that's pretty hard for you to lose. In fact, I don't think I've ever lost one. But then you also have the more interesting ones. The first being gardening. So gardening in Palia refers to tending to your personal farm. You lay the farm plot, dig in some holes, plant some seeds and tend to your plants over the course of days for them to grow. Give them some time and then you'll be able to collect their produce and sell or cook some good stuff with it. But that's not all. You'll also have all sorts of fertilizers you can use to improve the quality of your crops, prevent the growth of weeds and retain water on its soil. And not only that, there's some strategy to gardening. Some plants have natural buffs and their placement around your crop affects all other plants around it. You can mix and match and experiment with these effects, and you will eventually be redesigning your land to try out some new layouts. And a major part of gardening is actually to make money out of it. Selling crops will get you a lot of gold, but they can also be used for something else entirely, like cooking. Cooking starts as a really straightforward process. You go to your campfire and grill some fish, mushroom, or meat. But then it grows into a multi-step timed activity that requires several crafting stations at once that even other players can tag along and help you create produce that can be consumed, sold, or put as display in your house. So at first, this looks quite interesting, but you soon realize that you need to consume food so often to keep your focus up, which we'll talk in a bit, and having to cook using these multi-steps recipes over and over might eventually drain you out. And in order to cook all of this, you will need some furniture. Granted that the cooking stations are generally acquired for free, but you will want to make your kitchen look nice. So furniture making is pretty straightforward as well, but it is a skill connected to all the other ones in one way or another. You'll start by crafting some basic log cabin decor, and you quickly get to a point where you need more materials such as iron ingots and different types of lumber and precious wood. For all of those, you need specific crafting stations that are tied to other skills, which means you have to level up everything else in order to push furniture making to its highest levels. There's nothing complex on making furniture itself, but it is costly. Even though every time you craft a new piece of furniture, the game rewards you with a new blueprint, which kills the need of you having to purchase every blueprint that exists from Trish at her store. And then there's my personal favorite, fishing. Now, fishing is quite simple. You get your rod, go to a body of water that's deep enough, cast your line, and wait for a fish to hook. But fishing is the only skill that actually has somewhat a challenging minigame to it. So every fish behaves differently, some are incredibly hard to catch and will constantly jump out of the water, zigzag, or require specific bait in order to be lured in. Some will only show up at specific locations at specific times, and there's a huge variety of them out there. Not only that, but there are also treasure chests you can fish, as well as some items that start entirely new quest lines. Plus, you can get a lot of money by selling fish, and they're also a common type of gift for the townsfolk that you can use to improve your relationships. After acquiring the mastery level on a given skill, you'll then start earning medals, which can be used to purchase hard-to-craft items or exclusive decoration pieces. These are all supported by a weekly system where the game will present you with some challenges you can complete in exchange for medals every week. And again, all of these skills are tightly interconnected. Some bugs will only show up when you gather bushes or break down some stone nodes. Some fish require bait that you can farm by using food. Cooking requires all sorts of vegetables and protein. Well, you get the point. But once again, circling back to what we talked at the start of the video, if these activities can't keep you hooked into the game, Palia will not be for you because they represent most of what you'll be doing in-game. And even though you are the one deciding how you want to play the game, if your goal is to build a big house with the most incredible furniture, you will have to sharpen your woodcutting and mining skills. If you want to be a baker, you gotta do the farming. And if you don't want to do any of those, there's not much else to do in the game for you. Take exploration as an example. One of the things we love to do with huge worlds is to find their secrets. Get to the highest mountain, find the hidden chest. Palia, in theory, is a game where you can do all of that. Not only that, but you kind of have to do some exploration, since bugs, plants, and fish are scattered all around the map. And some quests will actually get you exploring uncharted territories to fetch something specific. But exploration is one of those things in this game where it feels like the game gets in its own way. During the initial tutorial of the game, you'll be taught on how to climb surface. It works exactly like in Breath of the Wild, where you get a stamina bar that drains as you move on walls. But oh boy, is it frustrating. Here, I'm trying to climb this lighthouse that's filled with things you can latch onto. It feels like there's some cool stuff to find on the top, but the climbing just doesn't work that well. I keep getting stuck on everything. I know, get good and all that, but it's not like I'm trying to do anything crazy here. I'm trying to use the things the game told me to use to climb things, and it's just not working. There are also a lot of places you think can be climbed but can't. And when you start exploring the world, you're met with a lot of emptiness. And don't get me wrong here, there are a lot of hidden chests, and I mean a lot, but the rewards for finding them are really not that exciting. The waterlogged chests you get from fishing can at least get you some cool furniture, but a hidden chest will get you some garlic, small amounts of gold, and random materials like wood and rare metals. You'll also come across several places where you're certain there are mysteries to uncover. But nope, you just walk around and try to interact with everything, but there's really nothing there. And then you eventually find a note, but it just has some piece of lore in it, and it doesn't start like a questline or anything. There is a hidden arcade game inside the shop owner's house though, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the recent updates did add hidden questlines, and those will only reveal themselves to you when you're exploring, through finding hidden notes and following up what's written on them, or fishing some weird item. But those seem to be quite rare, and you can never be sure if they were always there, or you've done something before to have them show up for the first time. Some are not even quests per se, but they do reveal hidden rewards if you properly follow their enigmatic steps. There are a lot of things to collect though. Every star quality item can be displayed in your home, and you have a lot of achievements to chase. Some achievements have some cool rewards for completion, other rewards you with Renown, the currency used to improve your focus, which just acts as a bonus XP you can get from doing tasks, and it's easily replenished by consuming food. You'll also eventually unlock the vault in one of the ruins, where you're tasked with contributing with specific rare findings, and every time you fill up a bundle you get some nice rewards, like expensive things you could craft but might eventually unlock more content of the game in the future. Now, Palia is not punishing in any way. You can't die or starve, you don't have to sleep, and there's no way to lose money. Honestly, the only real punishing feature is that your tools can downgrade if you don't keep repairing them. I have no idea why this system exists, by the way. It's such a contrast to everything else in the game. And it's when you combine that with some design decisions that the game suddenly becomes a little bit harder to swallow. Building relationships takes a long time. And after the bulk of quests are done, you pretty much only get new ones by reaching milestones in relationships. And every time you look at a relationship bar, you have no idea how long it will take, since there are no numbers to base anything off. You can only get villagers once every real life day, and cannot repeat gifts they like. And then on every week, everything resets and you can start the gifting process all over again. On the crafting side of things, crafting stations are limited and you have to keep buying licenses with increasing costs. This particular one is really weird to me because when you start, this cost is ridiculously high and you can barely afford the stations you need. But then you start progressing a little bit further and depending on how you play Palia, you eventually have most of them idle for days. Or have one particular station locked for days because processing time for some materials might take hours. New house pieces can also take hours, and I'm talking about 5, 7, 8 hours. So if you're looking into creating your dream villa, that's also gonna take a long time. Honestly, I'm still unsure about why this exists in the first place. The rooms are already pre-made and you only handle the connections between them. In a game like this, it's nice to expand and create your dream home, and since land plots are instanced, it's not like you're taking land that another player could use. So why do we have to wait so many hours just to be able to enjoy this big part of the game? Imagine if The Sims had this sort of thing. Honestly, this is a design decision I just can't understand. It really feels like it's being borrowed from mobile games. Gathering side of things, upgrading your tools are not satisfying at all. The new pickaxe sure allows you to mine a new tier of metal, but it barely improves anything else. The amount of hits required to mine previous tiers of metals, they go from what? From 7 to 6? There's also no automation gadgets or anything you can add to your land that exciting and frees you to do other stuff while still getting money. You're constantly spreading yourself thin through the world every single day trying to do what you want and still interact with the villagers. And sure, you definitely feel like some tools have some good improvements to them, like the watering can or the bowl, but everything you can do, you could do without those before. You can't interact with furniture, sit on benches or lie in bed. You can fast travel to your home on a map, that's pretty nice, but that has a big cooldown. Why? Is that because you can fast travel using the stables? But those only cost 10 gold to go to your home, so I don't see the need to the big cooldown here. This one drove me nuts for a while. You cannot craft more than one bundle of the thing you want at a time. When you're crafting arrows or some bombs, you have to craft a single bundle one at a time, finish the crafting, reopen the crafting menu, filter the items again, and craft the item you want again. And on questing, some of the quests are also misleading or maybe badly written. You eventually get a quest that says find something in the caves in a specific region. But those caves are actually a mine on the map, which sure are made out of caves, but there are also some proper caves out there not labeled as mines on the map. So you might end up searching for something in the wrong location just because of the way the quest is written. There's another quest where a villager says he threw a key in a place where no man can survive, which gets you running those crazy theories like trying to find a lava pit or a deadly waterfall, something like that. But nope, it's just on a calm section of a river and you have to randomly fish it out when you have that quest active. And the final one, which is a huge one for us, the social aspects of the game. Remember, Palia is an MMO. It prides itself as being this game revolved around a community of players that are all in this magical world together. But in reality, other players have zero impact in the world or in your way to play the game. When we first heard of Palia, we believed that this was going to be a game with a player-driven economy where you could engage in trade, where players could specialize in a particular trade and craft things for other players, where you will be able to share land and build houses together, or freely visit other people's land and solve complex puzzles that require multiple people's contribution. Well, none of that actually exists in Palia, at least not at this time during the open beta. Your experience with other players will mostly be of seeing them sliding around talking to the same village as you are. Everyone's doing their own thing. Even the cooking recipes that can be done by multiple people at once are easily done by yourself alone. The most community-driven activity you'll get is gathering endgame materials such as chopping flow trees, mining Palia ores, and hunting the magical beasts that are rare spawns in the world. But that's only if you get to that point in the game. And the reason people do that is because those resources are quite rare. They take a long time to spawn or find, and they actually produce really small amounts of material when collected. So players tag along to share the loot so it isn't painful for everyone. And yes, parties and communities are a thing here in Palia. Even though there isn't much implemented on community yet, you can form parties, but the user experience of the social panel itself is not the greatest. Now, in the world, you'll be able to see party members on the map, share loot with them, and visit your friends' homes if they've given you the permission to do so. But that's pretty much it for now. There's no proximity voice chat, and even though there are emotes, you rarely see people interacting on town since it feels like everyone's just having their own single-player experience of the game. Honestly, we kinda enjoyed our time with Palia. The early game opens up so many possibilities and the villagers are quite charismatic with really strong personalities. But when you progress further, you quickly realize that the only thing in the game preventing you from reaching your goals is the game itself. And although that's a common thing for simulation games, Palia offers no increasing challenges or exciting improvements to your gameplay to compensate for those obstacles. The minigame for cooking and fishing remain exactly the same throughout the game, and your game loop won't change that much over time. As an example, if you're playing like a city builder, you can jump your city from 0 population to 1 million, sure, that takes time. But as your city grows larger, so does your challenges. Huge possible swings in economy, traffic, and resource manages change drastically. In Stardew Valley, as you progress through the years, seasons will change, making it so you have to adapt your crops, and you also acquire upgrades to your tools and farmland that can change how you approach the game entirely. In Disney's Dreamlight Valley, not only your world is filled with these unique characters that have shaped so many childhoods, you also have the power to modify the entire village. You can move houses, redecorate the main square, the beach, and everything in between. And although all of those games all have their own sets of problems, they can also be the games that offer what you would like to see in Palia that isn't offered here just yet. And we're not saying that Palia won't ever have any of those things. Again, they just launched an open beta, and there's a long road ahead. However, during this open beta, they've already launched 2 major updates that brought new content to the game. But the thing is, it's really hard to justify hopping into a game like this, knowing that you have to dedicate so many hours to achieve the goals you want when there are other similar titles out there that already have so much to offer. And when you add on top of that the fact that Palia has microtransactions for cosmetics, since the game is free to play, and one of the most anticipated updates that brought in pets were locked behind a paywall through the premium store, you can only think about what else might be in the future for the game, and how those microtransactions could eventually bleed into other areas of the player experience. Having said all of that, have in mind that Palia is Singularity 6's first game, and it's a huge undertaking by itself. The game is free to play, so checking it out won't cost you anything. And also, if you're like us, that kind of gamer that likes MMOs such as Arcade, WoW, and competitive multiplayers like League of Legends, Palia might actually be a really good palate cleanser. Something to play after cutting trees in New World for 8 hours straight, or getting destroyed in League solo queue. We've played Palia for more than 50 hours and we haven't even been able to cover everything the game has to offer. Reaching those level 4 on relationship level takes a long time, and there's still a bunch of hidden secrets to unveil. But honestly, we would love to see Singularity 6 push Palia into a more player-oriented game with in-game systems that make it so players don't need to rely on third-party applications such as Discord. This game would be wonderful with proximity voice chat, so you can have those moments of people just chatting while they're fishing with random strangers and exploring the world. You could have in-game house decoration competitions, people could create restaurants or food stands where they could co-op into like an overcooked style challenge. You could also have community shared plots where multiple players could work on the same project, fishing competitions, the list is endless. There's so much to explore which all of the other games in this genre can't, and we really hope to see Palia being able to grow as a game that can support all of that. So, if you're looking for Palia to be your next co-op game, the game might not hit the mark just yet, but again, it is a free-to-play game, so definitely check it out. One thing though, I can't negate the fact that Palia is a really relaxing game that gives you full control of how you want to play at your own pace. But if you want to see more Palia content in the future, don't forget to follow the channel. We'll be keeping up with patches and new content releases. Palia is in its infancy, but it's already massively popular, and we hope it picks up even more players in the future. If you're looking for more co-op content and want to keep up with other amazing titles out there, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching and we'll see you on the next one.